Our today's guest is Amanda Mottola. She is the owner of the Otraway, and she is the person who teaches her clients how to elevate their brand, how to share their mission through their promotional materials, through products that they create. So welcome, Amanda.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so glad that we get to have this conversation, because one of the things I see so often with companies and that start to kind of reach out to their audience by having products is that there's a lot of junky products. There's a lot of just this stuff that clogs up the world, and people think that they have to do it because at some point this is how you like tell people about their brand. Obviously, you have a different view on that. So tell us,
Yeah.
how do you see this?
Yeah, I see, the products that I select for my clients come from intention because I feel like without intention, there's no purpose. And when you don't have purpose, you're not going to achieve your goal of getting that prospect or that client to remember you and truly connect with you. When you select the right items, you have that, I feel instantaneous connection and they'll keep that item longer. It's very important to kind of establish that relationship. And as you know, with business coaching, it's a series of connections that happen over time, which really develop into a stronger, sustainable long-term relationship with someone.
Yeah, and the goal of having some sort of a product to give to your audience or whoever your followers are is to invite them to maybe become your client, or is it more like if they have a high-end coaching business, let's say, and they want to have some gifts for their clients? Like, how do you see this?
Yeah, it's there's multiple folds to it. I have worked with people before that do an initial gift. I have also worked with I have a tarot card reader client, and she also does some, coaching and work with her clients on a really intimate level. And we did business cards that had the tarot deck on the back. And then on the reverse side was her business card. So what she would do is she would give on the spot readings when she would go to networking events and places where she met people, or if she just really connected with someone, she would whip out one of her cards and say, "Would you mind if I gave you a quick reading?" And right there, it creates a memory for the person receiving it. And it increased her sales, and she was able to, you know, give someone a gift because she loves what she does. So that little, quick kind of on the spot reading was just a little, kind of paying it forward, in her community and helping people, giving them some, you know, it's just an interesting connection. But the other side of that would be, yeah, the referral partner gifting. So if you have someone that's really sending you a lot of clients, if it's an existing client who just, loves you to pieces and keeps sending you more and more people from their network, I like to reward people that help me take care and grow my business. I'm a huge gift giver. Sometimes it gets me into trouble with my husband when he looks at the credit card. He's like, "Hey, you're spending so much on gifts." So I've been put on a gifting budget because I always come bearing gifts. It's a good habit, but it could turn into a bad habit. So that's a great opportunity. Client gifts are always nice too. And I also have some people that give like milestone gifts
Mm-hmm.
um, during different parts of the relationship. So kind of like a surprise and delight. So you onboard someone, you give them, maybe like a one-tier gift, and then you work together longer, or they, register to work with you, invest in themselves and in you for a long duration of time. It's nice to reward the relationship. And it doesn't have to come from a place of, "Oh, I have to do this." I like to tell people when you do something like that, it's coming from, just a gratitude standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it is a generosity-based marketing and a generosity-based relationship with the client. That's a very similar thing that I teach my clients as well, is that we give first. And, it's not like buy from me, buy from me. It's, here
Yeah.
is something, here is something. So that's very much in alignment with being a conscious person. So I know that you're empathic and you have intuition, and you use that when you help your clients kind of figure out what they need. to put their effort into and their investment in with you, because that's costs income for them to do so. So this is also part of an investment, how that meant to return to their business somehow. So can you speak a little bit how you use your intuition and your empathic sense to help someone when they come in, because they might be in their head, they might be like thinking, and you probably will have a different view on what actually is needed than whatever they're thinking.
Yeah, of course. I really like to read people and just kind of meet them where they're at and respect what they think, right? Because it's not always right. I know people say the client's always right, but let's be real, sometimes the client isn't right. And it's my job to explain to them, here's what you're asking for, but here's what I recommend, and here's why I recommend it. And whether I can pull case studies from other clients I've worked with or just personal experiences in branding, I then, when I can, utilize that to just further push home my point and why this is what I would like them to do, because it's in their best interest. So it's a little bit of a delicate process because, as you know, some people want what they want. So it's, treading lightly with that respect for what they're coming to the table with, but also using your expertise to guide them in a really, transparent and kind way. So yeah, that's definitely how I incorporate my empathy and my ability to kind of read people. And then I also too really gauge what people are comfortable with as far as communication goes.
Do you like come up with something that they would need? Do you suggest, or is it like some set of products that you help them choose with your intuition?
Yeah, so so initially I like to kind of get a feel for the clients. We have like a kind of a discovery call to see their brand, their mission, where they're coming from. I love getting people's stories because it helps me better get a feel for what they're looking for. And I try and incorporate that into, their gifting or the items that they do, because if they come to me and say, wow, sustainability is very important to me, or, I meet with them and I see, they reach down and they like pet the dog next to them. Oh, you have a dog, and we start chatting, and I can incorporate things that are meaningful to them. And, the communication thing I think is really big, because I will try and, if someone's more comfortable with like texting or email or call, I know people are also different. So I kind of create client profiles on each of my clients that I work with in each of the businesses and keep that in my brain when I'm working with them. And I do use, my intuition as far as curating the presentations. I don't have, at this point in time, I've been encouraged to, but I don't yet, a whole database available for people just to kind of thumb through and find their own things. There's several sites out there that use that. And I think that's where people buy things that they don't need, right?
Yeah,
it's that
that's where a lot
instantaneous
of the junky stuff is, right?
Exactly. And that
like put a
instantaneous
picture of something on your mug or on your, pen, and that's like, I mean, everybody does the same thing.
that instantaneous gratification that I even myself, fall for with that. I don't do ads. I don't do things like that to chase people. I really focus on the connections and working with the people that I feel are best suited to be working with me and my energy and my passion, and my values, which, some people are like, oh, like, you would turn down money, and to not work with someone. And for me, it's not always about the money, right? That comes when you're doing what you should be doing. I really wholeheartedly believe that. And
well, yeah, and I mean, we're usually, especially women entrepreneurs, not here for just the money. Of course, we want to get paid. Of course, we want our company to prosper, but mostly it's for some mission. And I mean, this podcast, this Conscious Coach, is on a mission. So that is a perfect segue for us to talk about why you do what you do, because you're passionate about it and you have a hell of a story in your own line.
Yeah, of course. So I was born in Asuncion, Paraguay, and it was during a dictatorship of it was about 35 years, I believe. 2 weeks after I was born, Stroessner was exiled to Brazil, and that opened up a lot of room for further corruption in the country. And allegedly, so many babies were trafficked to other countries through
Mm.
adoption, which isn't uncommon. That's happened in many, many other countries, and honestly, it still happens to this day. Um, and I have kind of come to terms with if that is what happened to me, I've kind of like blessed that and just sent that negative feelings on its way because there's many people I know that kind of hold on to that. So I've let that go and I just focus that I'm here and I know that I'm here for a reason. And I've always been an entrepreneur, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. So it took some time for me to figure out and go through that
Mm-hmm.
life process of making errors and choosing the wrong jobs and working with the wrong people. And it actually took a layoff to fully get me out on my own. It wasn't until that biweekly paycheck was taken from me that I finally saw that it wasn't guaranteed. I truly was an employee at will, and I really didn't like it.
Mm.
And when I got laid off, it was a month before I had my first son. So I had a lot of hormones and feelings and fears and uncertainty in my life, and to become a mom and then battle Hashimoto's disease, not knowing that I was suffering from that because people are like, oh, mom brain, this, like they're writing off that something was really wrong in my body. And I started to do it too and second guess how I was feeling. And at that point, I was healing from the C-section. My husband was working in a different state. I was alone with the baby most of the time, and we did that for about a year. Um, I honestly hit probably my lowest point. And the thing that kind of kept me hanging on was my son, this beautiful baby boy, and then also the consulting, the connecting with people, the feeling that I have something here, I don't know what it is, but I am going to try my hardest to, you know, uncover this fossil and figure out what it is, what this gift is that I've been given and how do I share it with people. So it took some time. 2020, I relocated to Rhode Island, and I decided that in 2020, I was like, I'm gonna spend 2019 with my son and just planning for my business. And then in 2020, I was like, I'm gonna go hard with my business. I'm gonna share my gifts with so many people. It's gonna be great. And then the pandemic happened.
Yeah.
So I knew no one other than my in-laws in Rhode Island, and it was really hard. And I almost gave up, gosh, so many times because I didn't have the connections here. I didn't have the confidence yet. Um, I was like, who's going to want to work with a mom that has a little baby sitting next to me while I'm on Zoom calls? Like, who's going to want to work with me? And the answer was a lot of people. So I was able to grow my business part-time with my son home during the pandemic in a
Mm-hmm.
state where I knew hardly anyone, to six figures, which I was very proud of. And it was really hard. It was hard because I made it hard. And it wasn't until the 2021, 2022 was when I really started working smarter, not harder, and focusing on those that truly were a good fit for what I was offering. Because I was going
Mm-hmm.
after anyone and everyone to start, because I think when you start a business,
Yeah,
you're
it's a
getting your
very common
bearings.
thing. At the
Yeah, and you're
beginning,
trying to
everybody just
figure
kind of
out,
goes for everything.
yeah. And there's not a guidebook, right? You work for you step onto a corporate, position, and you get like a handbook and you get a welcome package, and there's all these, or at least you should get those things. You get these, you know, this mentorship. And when you work for yourself, you're staring at all of your, you know, not negative qualities, but the things that might not excite you, right? Like, oh, well, maybe there are a couple flaws that I have that I haven't really, I've kind of glazed over a little bit. And it really becomes this inner battle of, you know, do I go to the laundry now? Especially when you're working at home. Do I go to the laundry right now? Do I call, a bunch of clients? Do I do some networking? Do I go to this activity? There's no one telling you what to do. And there's
Yeah, it takes a
such a
lot of
beauty.
self-discipline.
It does, but there's such beauty and freedom to that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've kind of gone off on a tangent a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
that's how I got here. And it's an ever evolving process that I'm grateful for because I've been able to spend an abundant amount of time with my boys and, help our family's bottom line. And it's only getting better. Actually, this week was the best week I've had in the history of my business.
Awesome.
And honestly, I didn't do much. It was a lot of referral clients coming back and ordering things because I've developed those relationships that at the time in 2020, I thought I was just spinning my wheels. But the right clients stayed with me and the right clients have grown with me. And, the right clients it's mutually beneficial, right? Because I love working with them. Never in my life working have I not had stress. It's crazy. I used to think that was part of the deal, right? You
Mm-hmm.
work, you have stress. You work, you have those, oh, I have to call this person. I
Mm-hmm.
have never experienced that working for myself with my business.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, I feel like it's such a crazy thing. When I talk to other entrepreneurs, they say the same thing, that it becomes maybe not easier in like the sense of it being like simple, right? Because there's a lot of things that you have to deal with when you're an entrepreneur that you wouldn't working for someone else. But in so many other ways, it does become there's just this sense of ease and becomes very like fluid. Sometimes I just know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm like, oh, all right. Well, that just came out of my mouth, and I've never had this particular predicament before, but it's just like I know how to handle anything that's thrown at me. Um, but yeah, it's been pretty awesome.
Yeah, and this sounds like much more of a fluid kind of a way. Like this is also the same thing that I hear from my clients all the time. Is like, oh my God, I just like living my life. I'm just being me. And yes, of course, you
Yeah.
have to do things in business, but it feels right versus kind of like when you have to push yourself and force yourself and put pressure on yourself. So
Yeah.
definitely very much relate to that. Now, if we look at where your business is now and what is your vision, like where do you see yourself going?
Yeah. So I thought about this a lot lately now that, I had the week that I've had because I set a end of the year goal and like this week pushed me like halfway to it. So my mind's blown. And I I really want to help other women. I work with a lot of women-owned businesses. Um, promo is a fun thing because you could do it remotely and you could do it part-time. That's how I started my business. So the wheel started going because I thought maybe, when I get to a position where I could bring on more people, I bring on some moms have their kids at home and I train them, because it feels like online shopping. You have this database of all these items and it's finding the right one. So it's kind of like a puzzle. It's just, I love it. So much fun. But to, bring on some women that, vibe with me and get as excited about it as I do, that could be a great opportunity for them that I'm allowing them to stay home with their kids, have some income, and do something that's fulfilling. Because I also give back to the community. That's very important to me because I'm considered a social enterprise because I do a lot within the community with large nonprofits. We gave away 1,200 art kits. So we worked with a client, helped them win a grant.
Mm-hmm.
And during the pandemic, all these art programs and just programs in general in the summer were canceled or at low capacity. So you know, these poor kids like weren't able to continue their learning or they're just, that get that stimulation in the summer. Some of the kids didn't even have crayons at home.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very sobering experience to work on because, I've never not had crayons, right? I was always able to have things like that, but there's people realistically that don't. So to be able to do that and hand out the bags to the kids was just gave me so much joy and fulfillment. And, you know, we helped out the client with making that happen. I volunteered my time to get the items together with a group of volunteers. And I think that's something that sets us apart from some of my bigger competitors because, we just care about the community. And I think a lot of that stems from my adoption, my past, my story. And yeah, it is my driving force. And, I don't see that ever changing because I feel if I were to change that and become this like cutthroat business person that I wouldn't be happy. And I'd find myself back in that corporate rut.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and kind of like the whole point that you
left.
didn't want to be there, so why would you go
Oh,
back?
yeah,
Right.
exactly. So saying I found that, that integrity and, setting my intentions, but making sure that I'm acting on those intentions in not only an ethical way, but a way that's true to me.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So,
it's very
what would you
important to me.
say is the biggest lesson here that you had to learn to get to this place where you're like, yep, I'm never going to go back. I'm going to do it this way. I don't care. I mean, I'm going to even turn back money sometimes if it doesn't feel right. And I'm going to stay in integrity. Like all these things that you just said. What was the biggest lesson you had to learn to kind of click into that's my way?
It was actually two. I know you said one, but I'll give you two quickies. Um, Being in the moment because the moment doesn't last. That's something that I've really taken to heart because in the last few years, I lost a mentor who was about 40, 41.
Oh,
Um, she passed away from cancer, and actually today's her birthday.
oh.
And one of my clients, his wife, who I never met, but he talks about her like an angel. Like he just felt like I knew her just through his words. So beautiful. She passed away at 43 from breast cancer a couple weeks ago. So hearing things like that, it's very, oh gosh, it makes me incredibly sad, but it also helps me see that nothing's forever. So that has been a big lesson to me as, you know, I'm going into, like the third year of my business, trying to enjoy even the worst moments of my business, or, when an order goes wrong or something
Mhm.
happens. That's, I really take that to heart. And I don't remember what the second one was. It was great. So I guess if you want to connect with me, I'm sure it will come to my brain later. Uh,
Well, it's important to be present to what is because I think so many times entrepreneurs get stuck in goal setting. And I find myself goal setting not actually a valuable thing at all because it sort of sabotages us by making us fixate on how we think it should happen instead of
yeah,
letting the universe have it brought to us. So kind of like you need to have an intention, you need to have an idea, you need to give the universe, God, whatever's out there, an order. This is what I would
yeah,
like. I placed my order and then
yeah.
see, what comes in. So being present is very much a big key of that process. So that's awesome, Amanda. All the things you were saying, very interesting. And a lot of people can
Oh,
probably
sorry.
utilize
I
your
thought of the other
services.
one.
Oh, what's the second one?
I'll be super quick. The last one is don't be afraid of taking risks, calculated risks.
Yeah.
I recently merged with another company and it ended up not being right for me as a person, at least not in this moment. So I unmerged, which is weird. Um, and I've had one of my best weeks ever in business. So just because you take a risk and it doesn't work out doesn't mean the world explodes. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise and it teaches you something that you needed to know. And maybe that's just you could do it on your own. And that's kind of what it was for me. So that was a huge one that I learned within the last literally month and a half. That's been really big and has changed the trajectory of my company in a crazy, crazy way. So that's
Yeah, that's
that's for
actually a
sure.
very good point about take a risk and then take a risk again to undo what didn't work. Because
Yeah.
so many times people feel like, well, if I took this risk, that's it. Like I'm stuck with this. And it's like, well, no, it's kind of a process. So you
I
can do
actually
it and
had
then you can.
my cards read. My tarot card reader comes over once a quarter, and she read my cards based on the two scenarios. And either way, it said that I would be successful and find my way. So I was like, well, what do I have to lose if I take on this new opportunity and it doesn't work out? Because then I just go back and do my own thing. And either way, the end result was good. And who knows, maybe if I didn't read my cards, I would have, stewed on it more and let it stress me out. But I listened and I said I'd rather actually at the end of the other one, if I just continued on my own and ignored the opportunity, it said that
Mhm.
I would live with regret.
Ah,
And that for me is not an option. I'd much rather fit. I would call it a fail. I'd much rather, bump my head and have a learning experience than have regret.
And that's what makes you a good entrepreneur, because I mean, those are the qualities that are needed in order to succeed. We dive into something that's difficult, we come back up, and then we stronger for it, right?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So how can people find you if they want to work with you?
Of course. So I actually have two Instagram. Instagram is probably the best way, but if you don't have Instagram, you could check out my site. It's just at Otraway on Instagram or Otraway.com. And then my personal account, which I share a picture of my little boys and just more of my passion, is Amanda.Marie.Mottola. Happy to
Awesome. So
connect.
we'll put
And
all those links in the show notes. So if
thank
you're
you.
interested, definitely click and you'll be able to connect and check her out and what she does and all the details that she posts. So Amanda, what would be the last piece of wisdom for you to share with the audience? Something that would be like you want to leave them with today.
Hmm. Know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be.
This is Amanda. Thank you so much for being here. And hopefully a lot of people would be interested in what you offer and
Thank
come
you
to
so much
you
for your
and
time.
get to be supported by you and your intuitive ability to help them with their promotional products.
Thank you.